Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Last patch wasn't massive, but there were some really key changes that shook up the meta a bit, so we're going to go over the best in each role right now for solo queue. I have put a list, as always, of the champions in the description if that's what you're after. Also, yesterday, it was really cool to see how many of you watched until the very end, so thank you. I honestly do appreciate it. Anyway, top lane probably had the biggest shift this patch, so we're going to start with that one. Number 2 is going to be Yasuo. The crit changes in mid-season are the main reason he's actually here. Honestly, they gave him a nice little, indirect buff. Phantom Dancer still seems to be the go-to build-wise, but Shiv is actually really good win rate-wise as well. It adds a lot more burst and wave clear. He's basically like a Nasus at the moment, I think. Kind of like a ticking time bomb, you know? You can beat him early, but he will eventually start to do so much work and carry late game. Basically like the best late game top laner you can play, to be honest. He's really good versus non-meta champions, and the ones that are meta are more skill matchups. So it means that if you don't play meta and you play versus Yasuo, you're likely going to get outscaled and screwed. That is kind of scary considering he's normally all about skill, let's be honest. Right? If you're good with him, then he's always good. The thing is now, even if you're pretty crap, you can actually still just farm and do a lot mid to late game. That's kind of it, to be honest. The main things are a cheaper build, which means he gets to late game a bit quicker, which is where he really shines. He stomps non-meta or not top tier stuff and has skill matchups for the rest of them. Riven's going to be our number 1. The buffs last patch were so good for her. This is legit exactly why learning animation cancelling is so important on Riven. They slightly buff that and she's a monster. Death Dance also made it worse as well, made her better, I guess. Such a good item on Riven. With her ultimate on, she heals for so much and she way out heals the bleed from it. If Yasuo isn't the best late game top laner, then Riven probably is, honestly. Not exactly what you'd expect from Riven, but a mid to late game win rate is crazy high. What we're seeing right now is usually double life steal, so normally a Hydra is the second one, so you out heal the bleed from Death Dance. The Guardian Angel with the extra AD is great, and then some arm pen. It's basically the perfect build, really. She also beats Yasuo, and to be honest, pretty much any other top laner at the moment, and that's why she's so strong. Main thing, she got buffs to her animation cancelling, which is a massive part of her kit, but her build is in a perfect spot at the moment. There are buffs to pretty much everything she uses. Matchups are really good, and everything kind of came together for her so well this patch. The honorable mention is going to be Fiora, and you can make a case pretty easily for her being second or first, to be honest. She's really strong, and the Guardian Angel buff actually helped a good amount as well. I'm kind of surprised though we're not seeing more Death Dance on her, but I think we probably will soon enough. Try Trinity Force though. It sounds really dumb, I know, but it's actually super good and it gives you an insane amount of damage early. Jungle is probably the second biggest changes this patch. The meta has shifted a lot, so we're going to move on to that. Kha'Zix, in my opinion, is the second best jungler this patch. Stat wise, he's jumped up and one of the only carry junglers who hasn't actually been nerfed into the ground. The Graves and Lee Sin nerfs are the main thing here, actually. They go down a little bit and Kha'Zix is going to come up. That's literally how it works. You nerf the two most popular big boys out there and somebody has to come up to replace them. Guardian Angel buffs also helped a little bit. Your build is in a decent spot. Warrior and Black Cleaver for the damage side, and then Guardian Angel and Sterix for the defensive side, which is pretty well rounded, actually. More bruiser, kind of. I think you're really best mid game, though, for sure. Ivan and Xin can kind of outscale a little bit, but early game you've got decent ganks, good damage, and you can easily carry the game. That's the most important part. Elise is very similar to Kha'Zix, just like an AP version, but Kha'Zix does not fall off as much. You can still carry in team fights, which is much harder for Elise. Your main competition got nerfed, so Kha'Zix is just naturally much better. You have a lot of damage and gank pressure early, and honestly, he hasn't changed that much. It's mostly the meta around him. Then the next one, though, got a massive change. Riot went absolutely nuts with the buffs last patch to Zac, and now he's legit by far the best you can play. He is so tanky and still does a lot of damage. It's actually pretty ridiculous. You should probably 100% ban or pick this guy right now. That is how good he is. You can even play him as a support right now because of the same reasons. Base damage is pretty high, and you have so much disruption and crowd control. The main thing people don't realize is your E knocks up for a second now after the change at full charge, right? And that is how long it takes to charge up his ultimate. So if you use that E and ult straight after, you honestly have no time to avoid being dragged up and moved into the rest of his team. The knock-up duration is big anyway, but the ultimate synergy with it is what most people are missing, and that is what is actually making him so good. You are a super gank machine, as Zac has pretty much always been, out of range of vision and over walls and stuff, that scales into team fights really well. One of the biggest things is how you can engage fights so well. You can survive that engage though, and even catch carries at the back as well. Honorable mention is going to be Warwick. I'm going to keep mentioning this guy, honestly. At low elo, he's legit the easiest way to climb right now. If you want to get plat and you play jungle below that level, stop playing Lee Sin, stop playing Graves, and play Warwick. I 100% promise you're going to climb faster. He's easy to play, but he also has a very high impact, which means you can absorb damage, but you dish it out as well. You're actually super well rounded. Remember when Vi was kind of overpowered for a few patches a few months ago? It works basically the same way. You have damage damage, you're tanky, and you can actually engage. Now, if we move on to the mid lane, first one I'm always going to say is Ahri. She's too safe, too high impact. She's getting a nerf soon though, but until that, she lets you climb the fastest, I think. Ignoring her, number 2, Kassadin. Games are going a bit longer in general now, and that's Kassadin's wet dream, to be honest. Like, he's decent in the lane phase anyway, but late game are so good. Mages are everywhere for him to kind of prey on, but get a few items and he's going to one-shot everybody and actually carry. You have high mobility, you have this high impact as well. Like, some games you might feel like you do nothing, but that's completely normal when you play a late game champion. The real key is getting ahead in the lane phase. Like, you get your Rod of Ages and Lichbane early and you run around and you start to one-shot, which is so hard to stop. The lane phase is probably the hardest part of playing Kassadin, but if you manage to nail that, you're going to climb pretty fast. Main things, you counter the meta pretty hard, you can roam like a monster and help your teammates, which is really important. That then lets you snowball the game and you legit actually one-shot people, like full-on one-shot, one combo. You're like a safe version of an assassin. In my opinion, the best mid to climb the ladder at the moment is going to be Syndra. You have so much damage, but to be fair, it does take a lot of skill to play Syndra. Using Q on the ground and pressing R is not hard, but honestly, who cares? Like, a win is a win, right? So why not abuse her if you can play her? She has a really good lane phase, so if you're better than your opponent, it massively shows. You're going to get a CS lead, a kill lead, a goal lead, and all while the enemy falls behind. This is one of the biggest things for solo queue actually that we don't really talk about very much. You get stronger, but you're making the other mid laner weaker, which means they are less useful and less dangerous to your team. By winning your lane pretty hard like Syndra would, indirectly, you're actually really helping your team out as well. I think there's really a lot you can do solo, honestly, to carry actually the game yourself. Like, you have a long range stun into a ton of damage. If you play well, you can turn most fights into a 5v4 by removing one of them at the very start. Main thing is you're very strong in the lane phase, which is the key to reliably climbing a solo queue. You dumpster other mid laners and you get a big lead, which you can translate into a ton of damage. Honorable mention would be Heimerdinger, one of the rising stars out of the mid lane, and top lane I kind of guess. Like, I think he's better mid for now though. He actually has a lot of damage if you manage his beam charges properly. We're probably going to see him a lot more as people get used to his new kit. He's not even bad as a support actually as well. Your base damage is quite high and his grenade is more useful now as well. It's easier to hit and it gives towers more damage from the beam. So I'm not going to leave support until last this time, so the 5 of you who actually play support can be happy. First up, Karma. In my opinion, a really good solo queue champion at the moment with the rise of Thresh again. So Karma can poke Thresh out of the lane phase and keep him pretty low on health, which means hooking and diving in is much more risky for him, and indirectly you're actually lowering his kill potential quite a lot. You're super good early anyway, like you have loads of damage, your mantra Q is so much, and you can easily 1v2 the enemy bot lane in my opinion. The problem normally is that aggressive lanes like that fall off and you're not as good in team fights. Like, think Blitzcrank for example, right? But that's not true for Karma. Your team fight is amazing with Sensor, Locket Redemption, AoE shields, a speed up. Like, your Q and E can even help your AD kite someone diving onto them easier. Main things, you're not relying on your AD carry to do stuff at all. You can punish the enemy AD yourself, and in team fights you can keep bad teammates alive with your kit. That's kind of exactly what support is like in solo queue, a glorified babysitter, and she's really good at it. Thresh is going to be our number 1, and I actually have no real idea what happened, but he is a beast right now and by far the best support you can play. It's even at the point where you might consider banning him. Like, not really like oppressive or anything, but his win rate is that high with a really high play rate as well. It means that crap Thresh players are actually still winning games where they probably shouldn't be, but good ones are winning a ton. It comes down a lot to his lane phase. Hooks are able to punish immobile AD carries and mage supports, which is basically the bot lane meta at the moment. Thresh is countered by poke, so he cannot engage, or tanks who block his hooks basically, and none of those are actually in the meta right now, which is why he's so good. He's also very versatile, remember. He can use his whole kit to go aggressive or to protect somebody. Not many others can do that, so he fits into every single game. Main things, you're very good at picking fights and catching people, feeding your AD carry or his team kills throughout the game, but he can also protect them if on the back foot as well. Honorable mention, I'm going to go with Bard. I'm starting to hate Bard honestly, but he's actually very strong. A bad Bard player is actually legit the worst thing to play with. Maybe Janna is a bit worse, definitely Janna's a bit worse, but a good one is insane. You can be the most annoying thing in the game and have a massive impact, plus you do so much damage. A late game Bard, even with no damage items by the way, does an insane amount from Meeps now with his passive, so you're actually super useful. Finally, AD carry then, not much has changed here. Number 2, Twitch, getting to that point where he's probably going to get nerfed soon, but I'm not really sure. He does have like obvious weaknesses, but against bad laners he's very good. The weakest point for him is the lane phase. That is only going to be though if the enemy bot lane pressure you and they want to fight. Otherwise you get to free farm and you scale into the game for free. Also against bad laners, you roam, they push, you get free kills and you snowball into the game, which is even better. Against a good team though, who pressures you, fights you early or ganks you and then stays together more mid game, you're going to be in kind of a bit of trouble to actually carry. He is the best late game AD carry you can play though, even more than Kog'Maw I think, just because you cannot really focus him. A good Twitch is going going to start the fight invisible and choose the best time to pop out, which makes it really hard to play against. Main things, games are going later, and Twitch is the best late game AD carry you can play. He's also good with shields, like shielding supports or aggressive ones, and Doran's shield can even help him in really hard lanes. Caitlyn, though, is going to be the best AD right now, just in time for her legendary skin, right as normal. For real, she is actually very strong, though. Build is cheap and perfect for her at the moment, but it's more how easy she is to play. I don't know about you guys, but I get very pissed at the moment playing solo queue and losing to a really bad AD player who just plays Caitlyn. They just auto-attack the minion wave, they AFK push with their Q, and they make you miss CS on a tower, or they poke you there with their trap set up and stuff, zoning you away. That is honestly it. She's very strong, but she's brain dead to play at the moment to a basic level, and she's super safe as well. High range and her net as well when someone jumps onto her. While she is easy to play though, she also is probably one of the most advanced AD carries to fully master. There are a lot of hard things to do with her. This means the bad players are winning where they probably shouldn't be, but good ones are godlike at the moment, and that is the real issue. The one to watch out for though would be Jinx this time around. When Caitlyn finally gets nerfed, I think actually Jinx is going to come up a lot more. Right now she's pretty good actually, but she just gets kind of overshadowed by Caitlyn, a safer, more reliable version of her really. Jinx can carry harder though if she gets a lead, but I think that will change when Caitlyn steps down a bit more. And also Lucian. Lucian is a harder matchup to play, but when he gets nerfed that will be easier. So basically Jinx is good now, but she's going to get even better next patch. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, these are my picks for solo queue climbing, not necessarily the best of the best for like high diamond or challenger or whatever. Thank you for watching the video until the end though, but for now I'm going to leave you with the robots.